Good morning. This is Deacon Don. My reflection is actually a 2-day reflection. Yesterday for Memorial Day and for today. And I want to be able to just take a few minutes to reflect on what Memorial Day is for us as Catholics, as well as for us as Americans. Memorial Day brings emotions and it brings memories. We have our own emotions and memories relating to Memorial Day. For me, I have to tell you that I'm a baby boomer, which means that I grew up right after World War II, and the fact that my father, my uncles, and my father-in-law were all in the military, and most of which who fought in World War II in different places means a lot to me. My dad was in Burma and China during World War II. My father-in-law was on B-17 bombers in Europe. My uncles, one or two were in the South Pacific, and many were also in Europe as well. And there was one gentleman, not in my family, who I met a number of years ago, who came and lived in Zelienople, for example, who was in the 29th Division and was on the second wave on Omaha Beach on D-Day. What an incredible human being he was as well. Those are the types of memories and emotions that I hold today. I'm a history geek, and I admit that easily. From a very young age, I was enthralled with World War II and especially D-Day and the Normandy invasion. And one of the things on my bucket list was to have the opportunity to travel there, which Nancy, my wife, and I did a few years back, where we walked on Omaha Beach and we walked on Utah Beach, and we walked through the U.S. cemetery on the hills above Omaha Beach, which was an incredible experience. But the most awesome experience for us was a little bit later in the trip when we traveled to Holland, to the Netherlands. You see, my wife's uncle, Walter, was in a tank battalion, and he was killed in a tank battle in Belgium just before the Battle of the Bulge. And he's buried in a little town in Holland called Margraten, where there's a really large U.S. Military cemetery there. And we had the opportunity of finding it and visiting. I was astounded when we first went into the cemetery because there was so many people there. And I'm thinking, why would so many people be in an American cemetery so far away from the United States? And I realized when the administrator told me that these were all Dutch. These people adopt graves. Families adopt U.S. graves to take care of them, to put flowers on them, to tend to them all year round. And that care goes from generation to generation in the Dutch families. Fathers and sons and daughters all do that through their lives. And I was impressed with how much love and care there was showing to people that they never met, but whom they were indebted to. The administrator of the cemetery took us to Uncle Walter's grave, and he had a bucket of water with sand in it, and I'm thinking, what was this about? And he took us right to the gravesite, and all of the graves they're white, and it's hard to see. There's no contrast in the lettering. So what they do is they take the sand and they put it into the wording, into the letters, into the name on the headstones, so you can see it. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then when I found out the fact that they use sand from Omaha Beach to do that, it was, I got choked up, I will tell you. We were the first family to visit Uncle Walter since he died, which is now 76 years ago. I think we were the only family that had that opportunity, and it was a special moment for us. Those are my emotions. These are my memories today for Memorial Day. But what does that mean for us as Christians and as Catholics? What's the takeaway for us on Memorial Day? And it's two words. It's hope and it's mission. Hope because there is a hope in the peace that we search for between nations and even within our own nation. A peace that God wants for us. I'm going to read a short gospel passage from John, from today's gospel. John chapter 16. It says, "Behold, the hour is coming and has arrived, where each of you will be scattered to his own home, and you will leave me alone. But I am not alone, because the Father is with me. I have told you this so that you might find peace in me. In the world you will have trouble, but take courage, that I have conquered the world." Whatever problems we face, and in our world there are many, never seem to go away, do they? There is always hope in finding peace in Jesus Christ. The other word is mission. Often, our duty as Christians is to work for peace, the peace that God wants for us. And we have so many obstacles in our way to achieve that. And it's our mission to overcome those obstacles. There's a reading from Isaiah from today's breviary. Isaiah chapter 2, it says, "He shall judge between nations and impose terms on many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. One nation shall not raise the sword against another, nor shall they train for war again." Our mission is to work toward that, to never have to have war between nations, even amongst ourselves, for goodness sake. And for Christians, it's tough. Sometimes we feel that we're outnumbered, not so much as a religion, but as a way of thinking. We as Christian Catholics, we are often on the periphery of mainstream, it seems. But there's a lot of joy in that, even with the difficulty that we have. But our mission is clear. That is what we are designed to do, to bring peace, the peace that God gives us. So, Memorial Day. But until we can find the peace that God wants for us in this troubled world, until we can find a way to destroy the things of war and the things that divide us, our mission and our hope is that we work toward that. Luckily, blessedly, before we have the ability to make those changes, we have those of us who are brave enough, who are dedicated enough, and who love enough to be able to make the sacrifices that are needed to retain our freedoms and are needed to protect our families. Those are the people that we remember today. These are the same people who I am sure, if you had the opportunity to ask them, they would work hardest for training for no more war and no more conflict and no more division. These are the people that we remember. So on behalf of our clergy and our staff, we are hopeful, and we have a peace-filled mission this Memorial Day. So as we give thanks to those who gave so much for their families and for those that we will never meet until until our time together in heaven. I pray that this Memorial Day is important to each and every one of us in the memory of those who came before us in order for us to be where we are now. I thank you all. Have a blessed Memorial Day and a blessed week as we continue with our mission to work together as a family. God bless you.